Hey everybody, it's the 80s Slasher Librarian. Exciting news, the Slash Tracks Network is on Cameo now. For $10, you can get a video from me and Alex, Master Evil, Freddy, even the rodeo clown from Slash Tracks. We're looking forward to hearing from you. We can do a happy birthday video, advice, anniversary, just whatever you want us to say. Send us the money, we'll say the words, we'll have a good time doing it. Keep it scary, and pleasant dreams! Freddy vs. Ash, the fan novel by A.S. Eggleston. Chapter 14. Everyone was kneeling at the edge of the couch. They all looked shocked, like they had just seen a ghost. When they heard her screaming, rushed over to her and woke her up as fast as they could. They all had seen her, shaking and convulsing on the cushions, screaming like she was being murdered. Cooper was about to say something else when Evelyn wrapped her arms around him and hugged him tightly. She feared that she would never be able to do that again. Her hands shook and her eyes were wide. "I saw him," said Evelyn. "I saw Freddy in my dream. He was there." Cooper pulled back and looked at Evelyn in horror. When he saw her face, he didn't need to be convinced. "Evelyn," he warned her, "you've got bruises and cuts all over you." She touched the wet patch on her head. When she looked at her fingers, she saw that it was blood. "Can you walk?" Jill asked her. Evelyn tried to get up, but gasped when she felt the stinging pain on her left thigh. Cooper gently set her back down and pulled the cover back. The sheets had patches of wet blood on them near Evelyn's legs. Jill, Stephen, and Faith moved in closer to look. They all reacted in horror when they saw it. Evelyn propped herself up to look at what Freddy had written on her. Carved with his blades on her bloody inner thigh wrote, "Freddy was here!" It was just after 5 a.m. The sun had not yet come up, when Stephen stood in the living room looking through the blinds. He saw that the sky was only an indigo blue. The clouds filled the sky, hiding most of the stars. The tall, petrified trees formed black silhouettes in the background. Looking into the horizon, he saw a red dot in the sky. For a moment, he thought it was the sun rising, but he was wrong. As Stephen looked more carefully, he realized it was the moon. The moon itself had become red as blood. It didn't shock or frighten him any more than seeing Evelyn convulse on the couch, bleeding before his eyes. It only filled him with dread. Stephen turned away from the window and joined Cooper and Jill, where they stood by the kitchen counter. They waited while Faith was in the bathroom, bandaging Evelyn's wounds. Not all of them waited patiently. After nervously pacing back and forth through the room and biting his fingernails, Cooper leaned against the refrigerator, covering his face with his hands. His dark blonde hair curtained around his fingers. He didn't want anyone to see that he was crying. He had almost lost his girlfriend that night, and at any moment he could still lose her, and there was nothing he could do about it. He felt a hand on his left shoulder and Jill's voice shortly after. "Cooper?" she asked. Cooper kept his face hidden. His voice was muffled through his hands. "What now, Jill?" he replied in a monotone. "Evelyn's going to be fine," she reminded him for what he felt like was the 100th time. "It's just a few cuts and bruises," Stephen added. "I mean, she's alive, that's what's important." Cooper dragged his hands down from his face, showing his red, teary eyes. He raised his voice this time. "Freddy carved her leg and used her as a punching bag," he told them. "He could have killed her." Jill got in his face. "But he didn't," she assured him. "So why are you still focused on that?" she asked. He took a deep breath to try to calm himself down. "I could have helped her." "Oh, really?" Jill humored him. "How?" He broke eye contact with Jill and began pacing around the room again. "I don't know," he replied honestly. Since Evelyn woke up, he had gone through various scenarios in his mind on what he could have done to keep her from Freddy. He kept running them in his head on a loop, as punishment for not doing whatever it is he could have done. The truth was, there was nothing he could do. but he still kept trying to find answers. I should have watched her more carefully. Maybe then I would have been able to see that she was having a nightmare and woken her up before Freddy got to her. Jill interrupted him. Cooper! Cooper stopped pacing and faced her. What? You can't control everything, she said. Yeah, Stephen agreed. It's beside the point anyway. So what is the point then? Cooper asked. Tell me, Steve, what are we going to do? Well, said Stephen, if Evelyn survived Freddy and her nightmare, maybe we all can. Just long enough to find a way to get rid of him. Cooper argued with him. You heard Ash. Freddy's just going to get more powerful. And who knows what else will happen. We can't stop him. Stephen stared down at the floor. You sure are a big help, he said quietly. In a matter of hours, his and all of his friends' lives had changed. His biggest worry went from getting to school on time to wondering if he'll be alive or dead by tomorrow. He felt hopeless. He was just glad that his sister was by his side. They were only about 2 years apart. Even though they bugged the hell out of each other, Stephen and Jill were like best friends. Ash mentioned a book, right? Jill asked Cooper. The, Necronomicon? Yeah, answered Cooper. So if the book is destroyed, wouldn't Freddy be too? Cooper hunched over the table. Yeah, but Freddy's the only one who has the book, he answered. The only way to find it is to get to him, and there's no way I'm giving Freddy another chance to kill one of us. He stood up straight. I say we leave town. I like that, Stephen agreed. I have seriously been considering that for the past couple of hours. Freddy only kills kids in Springwood, Cooper continued. If we leave, he can't get to us. Jill started to walk away. I'm going to go check on Evelyn while you two make travel arrangements. She walked out of the kitchen, through the living room, and headed to the first door on her right in the hall. The bathroom door was open by a few inches. Jill pushed it open, poking her head out the door. She saw Evelyn sitting on the edge of the bathtub with her leg propped in front of her, with a bloody towel under it. Faith sat beside her, wiping off the crusted blood and applying gauze. Jill entered the room. She jumped up and sat on the counter next to the sink. How do you feel? She asked Evelyn. Evelyn leaned her head against the tile. Dizzy, she replied. She touched the dried patches of blood on the side of her head. And kind of gross, she added. Faith turned to Jill, keeping the bandage on Evelyn's leg. She's still bleeding, she said. I'm hoping the bandage will stop it. The bloody patch on the side of Evelyn's head had dried up and felt crusty on her hair. The streams of blood on her forehead and nose had also dried up and had gotten darker. She felt defeated. She just wanted to get bandaged, cleaned up, and move on. Faith, she said weakly, could you hand me that towel, please? Faith reached for the damp rag next to her and handed it to Evelyn. Thank you, she said weakly. She wiped off the crusted blood from her face and then squeezed the excess water onto her scalp. It wasn't much of an improvement. The cuts were still visible and she still had some dark bruises on her, but she felt clean. So, Faith asked Evelyn, what happened in your dream? Evelyn closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She didn't really want to relive the experience, but she figured she had to talk about it at some point. Well, she pondered where to begin. It felt real, like it was actually happening. Faith lifted her leg up slightly to wrap the gauze around her thigh. She wrapped it around tightly, hoping to stop the bleeding. At first, I was here and everything. It just seemed normal. And then, Evelyn recalled seeing the entity from the Book of the Dead. I saw this thing running towards me. Was it Freddy? Asked Jill. No, Evelyn answered. It was something else. It was like this entity, and it was coming right for me, so I ran. The next thing I knew, I was back in my old house. Cooper and Stephen had been standing by the door listening. They entered the bathroom as Evelyn described her nightmare. Stephen sat down on the floor so that he was next to Faith, and also by his sister. Cooper sat on the floor next to Evelyn. He knew all about me, she continued. He knew everything. Her eyes became watery, and she felt her bottom lip quiver from the images of her dream running over and over again in her head. He took me to that old house on Elm Street, and there were these little girls. They looked like Freddy did something. She didn't want to finish that sentence because that meant she would have had to imagine what Freddy had done to those girls. They were singing. She repeated the song exactly as she remembered in her dream. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Listening to Evelyn recall her dream unnerved everyone. Jill would fold her arms while Cooper would stare down at the floor. After Faith had wrapped the bandage around Evelyn's leg, she clasped Stephen's hand. Stephen gazed at her brown eyes for only a second before she turned her head back in Evelyn's direction. Her voice had become shaken and fearful. And then I saw him. He wore this dirty brown hat. He was horribly burned all over, and on his right hand he had this glove with razors for fingers. She began recalling what he did to her. He strangled me and dragged me across the ground. He hit me, and then he... Out of embarrassment, Evelyn wiped a tear away from her eye. I thought he was really going to kill me. Faith gently set her leg down. Well, you're all bandaged up now, she said gently. Do you think you can walk? It already hurt her to walk with the stab wound on her right ankle. She set her feet on the tile and stood up. She winced slightly at the pain. It stings a little bit, but it'll be okay. Everyone had left the room. Evelyn followed. Cooper put her arm around his shoulder, leading her out the door. Evelyn unwrapped his arm from her, refusing his help. No, she said. It's fine. I can do it. Are you sure? Evelyn answered. Yeah. She sat down on a wooden chair beside her small table in the kitchen. She stared down at her bandage. Blood had already started to surface in tiny dots where Freddy carved her. She knew how deep he had cut her. Even after it heals, the words would still be scarred on her leg forever, constantly reminding her Freddy was here. She heard Cooper's voice breaking her thoughts. We should leave Springwood, he said. Think about it. If we're not here, Freddy can't come after us. Faith argued with him. Oh, so you're okay with that asshole murdering more kids? 'Cause that's what I'm hearing from you. No, he retorted. It's better than Jill's idea. Evelyn turned to Cooper. Why? She inquired. What was her plan? He opened his mouth to speak when Jill put her hand over it to silence him. She spoke for herself. Remember when Ash said that Freddy used the Necronomicon to resurrect himself? Evelyn nodded. I'm thinking, if we burn the book, or rip up the pages, Freddy's done for. Jill looked to Evelyn for agreement. Right? She detached her hand from Cooper's mouth. Evelyn was unsure. She knew they all had to do something to stop him, but they couldn't do it by themselves. They needed to get someone to help them. If we don't, she thought, we'll all die. Cooper pointed at Jill. See? He asked her, hoping she would agree. He summed up her plan in one word. Dumb. He refuted it. The only way to get that book is through Freddy, and I'm not letting anyone go through that. He pointed at the bandage on Evelyn's leg. Again.
Hail to the king, baby.
Chapter 15. Evelyn stood up from her chair. No, you're both wrong, she said. She looked into Cooper's eyes. We are not running away like cowards. And then to Faith. And we're not going to fight him by ourselves. We can't do this alone. She knew what she was going to say next was going to irritate everyone, especially Cooper. We need Ash. Everyone erupted at once. What? Faith yelled. Are you kidding me? Said Cooper. Then Jill, who flat out said, No! Stephen was the only one who agreed with Evelyn. He spoke out amid everyone shouting. "Hey, everyone shut up!" he yelled, and they all did. They turned around to look at Stephen. "She's right," he said. "I mean, it's stupid to do this by ourselves. I bet if we did, we wouldn't last another night. We barely did this time." "Besides," said Evelyn, "Ash is the only one with experience in dealing with demons. He would know how to kill Freddy." Even though she had grown to trust Ash, she remembered how much of a screw-up he was. "At least, I think he would." Cooper walked up closer to her. "I'm sorry," he said sarcastically, "but isn't Mr. Wonderful the reason why we're fucking here?" Evelyn leered at him, pursing her lips and scrunching her brows. She prepared to say something when... Desperate to break the tension, Stephen meekly raised his hand to volunteer. "I'll get it," he said. He walked over to the front door and looked through the peephole. He saw a tall man with dark hair and a little gray on the sides and wearing a bloody shirt. The man looked up, allowing Stephen to see the scars on his face. He knew it had to be. "It's Ash," he announced Stephen. Evelyn broke eye contact with Cooper and ordered Stephen from the distance. "Let him in." Stephen turned the latch, unlocking the door, and turned the knob. Ash pushed the door open and immediately walked through. "Hey," he greeted Stephen. He turned his gaze to the rest of the kids. "How's everyone holding up?" Cooper shouted from across the room. "We're completely fucked!" He walked away, allowing Ash to see Evelyn, bruised and covered in cuts and bandages. "Yeah, I think that speaks for itself," said Ash. Evelyn stepped forward, making her way past Stephen, Jill, and Faith. "Freddy told me he had a message for you." "You mean threatening to skin me and making me as his own little puppet wasn't enough?" he said. "What did he say?" "It was more of a visual, really." Evelyn led him to the kitchen. She put one foot on the chair she was sitting on and unwrapped the gauze. Ash saw the cuts Freddy left on Evelyn's leg with his finger knives. The letters were thin and crude, like someone had carved words into tree bark. Seeing what he did to her made his stomach drop, because Ash knew it was his fault that Freddy was free again. "Oh, God," he said. "Evelyn, I'm sorry." "Save it," said Cooper. Evelyn tightly wrapped her leg back up. After securing the bandage, she returned her gaze back at Ash. He avoided eye contact with anybody, staring at the floor, the furniture, the chipped paint on the walls, anything to keep himself from feeling any more guilt for the damage he had caused. "Come on, Ash," Evelyn wanted to say, but kept to herself. "Don't be a coward." Ash couldn't believe the mess he had gotten himself into this time. He didn't just put a few kids' lives in jeopardy, but he put the lives of every child in the world in the clawed hands of Freddy Krueger. Boy, Ash thought to himself, I really screwed up big time. Ash lifted his gaze from the floor and watched her circle the gauze around her leg. Even though he had felt guilty, responsible for what he had done, he kept thinking back to what he had warned them just a few hours before. "Don't fall asleep," he had told them. But did they do that? No. These kids just go ahead and do whatever the hell they want, he thought to himself. Ash pointed at Evelyn. "What did I tell you, huh?" he said to her. "I told you not to fall asleep, and you guys turn around and let him slice you." Faith stepped forward and grabbed Ash's arm, turning him so that he faced her. "Hey," she yelled, "I had a plan and it didn't work out, okay? So don't blame her." "Oh, you had a plan," he said. "Nice going there, Sailor Moon." Faith scoffed and leered at Ash for his cheap insult. "Sailor Moon's a ditzy blonde, you jackass." He turned to Evelyn. "What was the plan, huh? Hang a dream catcher above your head and hope Freddy doesn't get you?" Evelyn interrupted them. "No," she said coldly. Her voice was now quiet and apologetic. She looked at Ash. "But you're right. I shouldn't have done it." Cooper walked up to him and stared him down. "We were just trying to find a way to manage. It seemed smart at the time, considering it's your fault that we're now desperate to stay alive," he said in his irritated tone. Jill leaned in close to her brother. She said in a quiet voice, but still loud enough for Ash to hear. "If it weren't for him, we'd be safe at home right now. We can't say anything to Mom and Dad about this." "Hey, the car still has a full tank of gas, right?" Stephen asked. Jill nodded. "We should just load it up and go until this whole thing blows over," he proposed. "I mean, it'll be tough convincing Evelyn to go with us, 'cause she's all hell-bent on this teaming up and banding together with Ash crap." Ash turned away from Evelyn. He studied everyone's faces. It was a bevy of emotions: guilt, fear, anger, mostly intended for him. He prepared to lay down his own plan. Ash stood straight. He stepped away from Cooper and Evelyn. "All right, listen up, you little knuckle-draggers," he announced. "Here's how it's going to go down." Ash turned his head and pointed directly at Jill and Stephen. "No one's going anywhere." Ash noticed the surprised looks on their faces. "That's right. Some of you have been thinking about skipping town, but it's not going to happen." Cooper interjected. "Yeah? And why the hell not?" Ash got in his face. "Because as long as Freddy has the book, he can go anywhere, not just Springwood," he said. "So hightailing it out of here won't do you any good. And it's not just Freddy," he told them. "It's these things out there, the Deadites. They live in the dark. Now all of you listen carefully. They can get you when you least expect it. By then it's too late for you. And now that they have a leader," Ash muttered under his breath. "Again?" He returned back to his normal volume. "Well, let's just say it makes my job a hell of a lot harder now." "So basically you're saying we're screwed no matter where we go?" asked Cooper. "Not exactly," he replied. "I can take Freddy down, but it's not going to be easy." "Maybe we can help," said Evelyn. "No, it's too dangerous," Ash told her. "So?" Faith said. "What are you going to do? Look for Freddy in the dream? Ask him nicely for the book? And banish his ass?" Ash leered at Faith for a moment. She, frankly, all of them, was really starting to get on his nerves. The annoying part was that she pretty much had just summed up whatever plan he could think of in those few hours, aside from the asking him nicely part. "Look," Ash said, "I have to get the book from Freddy. I haven't exactly worked out how I'm going to do that, but it's all I got. That damn book has to be destroyed. Then maybe Freddy, maybe this whole Deadite problem will be over." Jill nudged her brother on the shoulder and said to him in a told-you-so manner. "See, I'm not always wrong," she said. Faith, who still stood close to Evelyn, glanced at her. She stared at the cuts and bruises on her. Faith felt so uneasy and disturbed every time she saw those slash marks. She was afraid that the bandages she hastily tied on her wouldn't be enough. "Ash," called Faith, "shouldn't we take Evelyn to the hospital or something? She wanted to say, look at her, but she figured Evelyn had been stared at enough already. Ash answered her with a flat-out, "No." He elaborated. "If she goes, the doctor's going to see where Freddy left his mark and get suspicious. You can't let anybody know, you got me?" Everyone nodded in agreement. Ash continued. "The people here tend to hide Freddy away like he's their dirty laundry, or something, judging from my little visit earlier today. I get the feeling the police are in on it too. If they find out about this, they'll probably lock us up in the nut house." "Weston Hills," Evelyn corrected him. "What?" he asked. "It's a psychiatric hospital. I've heard about some kids being taken there, but they never say what for. They're not allowed any contact with their family or their friends, and most of them never come back home," she said. All the more reason to shut up about it, said Ash. He looked across and saw the sunlight peeking through the curtains in the living room. Seeing Dawn was the most comforting thing in the world to him. It meant that, until later that night, he was safe from the Deadites. But now, if Ash makes the mistake of nodding off, he won't be safe during the day either. It's not just the Deadites he has to worry about anymore. It's Freddy as well. Ash was starting to wonder if he was even going to win this battle. Last time something like this happened, he had an entire army backing him up. And what do I got now? A bunch of whiny kids? I'm screwed. First things first, Ash said as he walked to the door. I gotta get you guys home to your parents. It's dawn now, so they're probably wondering where you are. Ash opened the front door and let Jill, Faith, Stephen, and Cooper go first. Evelyn ran over and touched Ash on his shoulder. I'll ride with you. I have to get the car back anyway. She referred to Cooper's El Camino. Fine, he said hesitantly. Okay, Slashaholics, this has been chapters 14 and 15 of Freddy vs. Ash by A.S. Eggleston. If you're reading along with me, you may see that some of the chapters don't line up exactly with the ebook or physical copy. It's because of the way I've been narrating it time-wise. It's just easier to say chapter 14 than it is to say chapter 13 part 2, etc. But I am really enjoying this story. I'm sorry it took me a while to get back to it. Been putting out the Friday the 13th 5, which I will be dropping a new chapter of that in the next day or two. But yeah, this one is a really long book. I mean, right now I think we're only I'm reading from a Kindle page, so it's like page 2609 of 8327. We are 30% through this book. So lots of stuff to come. I cannot wait to see how the story plays out. We might be in this book for the long haul, but I'm enjoying it and I hope you are too. Let me know in the comment section what you think of the characters so far, if you're enjoying the whole Ash, Deadite, Freddy connection, anything like that. I'd love to hear from you guys. And I'll be back very soon with more of Freddy vs. Ash by A.S. Eggleston. Until then, this has been your friendly neighborhood 80s slasher librarian saying, thanks for listening, be excellent to each other, and always remember, the sun never sets on those who ride into it. Oh, and as Freddy always says, pleasant dreams, bitch!